What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for MLB Monday, June 13th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 10-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. So I got a couple of studs that I like here tonight. The first one is Sandy Alcantara, and he's got a pretty decent pitching advantage here over the Philadelphia Phillies. Sandy Alcantara is giving up a .588 OPS versus lefties, a .544 OPS versus righties, facing 5 lefties, 4 righties. Now the Phillies have hit 30 of his last 104 pitches. That's a .288 batting average. So it's not terrible, but it's not fantastic pitcher versus batter history here. And he is expensive. He's $11,300 FanDuel salary, $1,100 more less on DraftKings, but he's averaging 42 fantasy points per game on the season, and he is on fire, scoring 49, 55, and 73 fantasy points in his last 3 games. He has an ERA of 1.61, record is 6-2, and he's pitching an average of 101 pitches per game. Vegas thinks this is going to be a low-scoring game. 7.5 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So I like Sandy Alcantara here versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, a guy that I think I like just a little bit more is Alek Manoah. And he's got a massive pitching advantage here over the Baltimore Orioles. Alek Manoah pitches his best ball versus righty batters, only giving up a .434 OPS versus righties. He's facing 5 righties here tonight, and on top of that, the Orioles have only hit 6 of his last 31 pitches. That's a .194 batting average. So Alek Manoah is $10,800 FanDuel salary, $1,000 less on DraftKings. He's averaging 39 fantasy points per game on the season, and he's got an ERA of 1.81. Record is 7-1, pitching an average of 91 pitches per game. So I like Alek Manoah here versus the Baltimore Orioles. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with a 32% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Kyle Bradish. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is batting a .920 OPS versus righties. Kyle Bradish pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, 37% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .167 OPS versus righties. Now there's no at-bats versus Bradish yet. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is $3,900 FanDuel salary, $1,600 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .250, so I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here versus Kyle Bradish. Now I also like Ty France. He's in a pretty good spot here versus Chris Archer. But if you want to save some salary at this position, take a look at Josh Bell with a 40% batting advantage over Ian Anderson. Josh Bell is batting 6% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .840 OPS versus righties. Ian Anderson pitches his worst ball versus switch hitters, 34% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .043 OPS versus switch hitters. There's no at-bats versus Anderson yet. Josh Bell is only $3,100 FanDuel salary, 900 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games, and he has a batting average of .302. So I like Josh Bell here versus Ian Anderson. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Luis Arraez with a 17% batting advantage over Chris Flexen. Luis Arraez batting 34% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .855 OPS versus righties. Now, Chris Flexen, he does pitch better versus lefties than he does righties. He's giving up a .676 OPS versus lefties. But I like this pick because Luis Arraez is 4 for 7 with a .571 batting average and a 1.196 OPS versus Flexen. He's $3,200 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games, and he has a batting average of .359. So I like Luis Arraez here versus Chris Flexen. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. I like Josh Rojas with a 21% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Mike Minor. Josh Rojas is batting 9% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .843 OPS versus lefties. Mike Minor pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, 11% worse than his pitch to righties. He's giving up a 1.148 OPS versus lefties, and Josh Rojas is 1 for 2 with a 2.667 OPS versus Minor because that one hit was a home run. He's $3,100 FanDuel salary, $1,200 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .284. So I like Josh Rojas here versus Mike Minor. Okay, who do we have at the shortstop position? I like Jeremy Pena with a 21% batting advantage over Taylor Hearn. Jeremy Pena batting 4% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .821 OPS versus lefties. Taylor Hearn pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 17% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .827 OPS versus righties. Jeremy Pena is 2 for 4 with a 1 OPS versus Hearn. He's $2,800 FanDuel salary, $1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .277. So I like Jeremy Pena here versus Taylor Hearn. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. We got some studs that are in good spots here. Bryce Harper, Byron Buxton, George Springer, Jacques Peterson. He's only $3,500 DraftKings salary. He's in a good spot here versus Brady Singer. but I think for the price tag, I like George Springer with a 26% batting advantage over that low salary pitcher, Kyle Bradish. George Springer is batting a .839 OPS versus righties. Kyle Bradish pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a 1.167 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Bradish yet, but George Springer, he's only $3,700 FanDuel salary, $1,900 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season, scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games, has a batting average of .278. I think he's in a good spot here tonight as a home run hitter, so I like George Springer here versus Kyle Bradish. Okay, now let's take a look at a value play that I like on this slate. It's Juan Yepez with a 40% batting advantage over Mitch Keller. Juan Yepez, I don't know why I want to call him Juan Lopez, but it's Juan Yepez, has a 39% batting advantage over Mitch Keller. I'm sorry, no, he's batting 39% better versus righties as he is lefties. I'm getting all mixed up because of that name. So he has a .862 OPS versus righties. Mitch Keller, he's giving up a .807 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Keller yet, but I like this pick because Juan Yepez is only $2,600 FanDuel salary, $1,300 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .280, so I like Juan Yepez as a value play here versus Mitch Keller. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.